Hi, so I'm just going to talk about some random thoughts that I have about the video that Michael and I uploaded to Jack and Jellyfy earlier today called Tribute to Our First Commenter. Of course, referring to JSillyBoy slash Blue Jay, the first person to ever vote on a BFDI episode. And we actually had made an older tribute video to him just 3 days after the first episode. So that's like way back in Object Show history. But I don't think anyone really knew about that video. So this one was like the first, or no, the legitimate version. The one that I want all the eyeballs to see. Also, Blue Jay slash JSillyBoy, if you're out there right now and you're watching this, I do want to say thanks for everything, but I also want to say that I did not anticipate that so many people would click the link and check out your channel. And I'm just realizing now that having, 6,000 new eyeballs on your content might be a little overwhelming. So sorry about that. But anyway, I thought this could be a cool time to do a little BFDI story time. I don't know how much people care about IRL events that happened leading up to the first episode being uploaded, but I'll just talk about it anyway. So when Michael and I first thought about how to write these storyboards, I was thinking I want each episode to be about 5 minutes in length because most big YouTubers at the time, like Fred and Nigahiga, would make videos around that length and they would be quite popular. So when we had finished doing the recording of all our lines for episode 1 and the total length came to just under 17 minutes, I was like, dang, this might be a problem. I mean, I think viewers, when they come across a show that they've never heard of before, probably don't have the patience to sit through 17 minutes of content that they're not familiar with. So I was like legit worried, and I thought like we might have to speed this up or cut, trim it down. So I remember going around my middle school and asking a couple friends, would you sit through 17 minutes of a show that was, completely new? And I remember one person who I was not super close friends with, well, he said yes, and that made me feel really good or relieved, but most people were like, maybe not. So anyway, I think the reason I bring that up is that there was kind of this fear that like no one was going to reach the end of the episode and no one was going to vote at all. And we actually had this plan that if BFDI 1 got 0 votes, in the second episode, which we would intentionally make shorter, we would make a joke out of that everyone had tied at 0 votes. And so like the announcer randomly picks one of them or like maybe kicks them all out. I can't exactly remember, but I knew that we were planning on making a joke out of there being 0 votes. So that was a legit concern. So we spent 4 months working on the first episode. I remember we came up with the idea the August before the school year started, and then from September, October, November, December, we just animated / recorded. And on I think New Year's Eve, I think as tradition, we had stayed up until midnight, but for whatever reason, I was not awake at the exact moment that the episode was uploaded. Maybe because I was a weak boy and was so sleepy after midnight that I just wanted to go to bed. But the reason I mentioned that is I remember being woken up on January 1st, 2010. I'm still lying in my bed, which was in the old orientation before we had moved all the furniture around. I was still lying in my bed and Michael came through the door and told me that there was already this comment at 8 a.m. or something that said flower goes away. And I remember that was super exciting because one, it was proof that people would sit through a 17-minute video, but also it didn't take that long. And also I had this prediction in my head. I thought that Snowball would have a 40% chance of being eliminated, Flower would have a 30% chance, and Golf Ball would have a 30% chance. And I remember, since I had written the storyboard back in August, for months and months I had kind of thought in my head, okay, there's these 3 top contenders. So to finally see the data coming in of, who's actually going to get eliminated was pretty cool. And, Flower was one of the 3 that I had in my head. So I'm like, okay, this is matching up with what I had predicted. So I think it's easy to say now that like, well, duh, you're gonna get votes, you know, just wait long enough, and you know, longer episodes mean better watch time and YouTube promotes it more anyway. But the whole platform was different in 2009, so you know, there was just no guarantee that it was gonna get off the ground. So there's that. I also want to say that Michael got a real BFDI, and I like how shiny and reflective it is, and transparent. The other thing I want to say is that I was so obsessed about the vote counts as they were coming in for the first BFDI episode that if you actually look at the video that's called BFDI's Road to 500 million views, and you go to the exact moment that the two parts of the first episode were uploaded, let me play it. Okay, it's kind of hard to see, but for a split second there, if you look right here, the orange line is above the green line. Can you see that? And the orange line is BFDI episode 1 part 2. The green line is BFDI episode 1 part 1. And what this all means is that the second part had more views than the first part. Why? Well, I'm almost certain it's because Michael and I were so eager to refresh part 2 to see the votes coming in that we were giving it views of ourselves watching it. So, you know, over the span of 10 days, we only got 7 votes. 4 for Flower, 1 for Tennis Ball, 1 for Golf Ball, and 1 for Sam, whoever Sam is. But I think it's really funny that, like, despite only getting 7 votes, we were probably refreshing it every hour just to see if any new comments came in. And another story time thing is that in the first few days of 2010, I remember our parents took us to see the movie 2012, which is that kind of disaster apocalypse. Oh, my hair's too long. The disaster apocalypse movie. And I remember, you know, it was kind of scary to me because, you know, there were people drowning and there's people dying inside of gears, and like the whole vibe of the movie was very gloomy and end of the world like. But after the movie, you know, we didn't have cell phones back then, but after the movie, we went to eat at, I think it was like Marie Callender's, which is like a restaurant near that theater. And as we were waiting for the food, I remember sitting in this kind of booth with the cushy chairs, and our dad had said that, or either my mom or my dad had said that they had seen a new comment show up on our video during the movie or something, because I think someone had like a laptop, I can't remember, but like we couldn't see it right at the moment. So I remember asking him like, who did they vote for? Who did they vote for? And then either my mom or my dad said, well, it's one of the balls. How many ball characters are there? And I'm like, oh, that's not helpful. There are 3 ball characters on the squashy grapes. So it could be snowball, golf ball, or tennis ball. And I was just like upset. I'm like, you had one job. You just had to memorize that one comment. So that was an interesting memory. And in the end, it's like, as the episodes kept going on, I think I was less obsessed of checking the comments every single time, but there were more comments, so it's kind of like 2 forces going in opposite directions. Yeah, so yeah, there's proof in the actual video itself. The next thing I want to mention, if any of you are still here, is that in the tribute to J Silly Boy video that we uploaded today, it was originally going to just be the last half, only the music video part, and Michael and the animators that we've got were collaborating together, where the animators would just make a dancing image of a character, and then Michael would like kind of create a formation of them to make a cool image. And it was just my personal idea that I wanted to have some character of ours say a short monologue at the beginning to give an introduction to confused viewers what this even was, but 2, kind of make it more humanized, like more personal, and like 3, people like to watch BFDI characters doing BFDI things, even that's just like talking and like moving your body around. So I knew that if I animated Match talking for a while, then it might be more engaging to watch. Anyway, the reason I mentioned all that is that my 2.5 minute intro at the beginning was kind of shoved in there at the last minute, and I recorded it at the end of Wednesday, and I remember thinking to myself, this is just like 2 days ago, by the way, I only have all of Thursday to animate Match talking for these entire 140 seconds of her talking. And I was like, there's no way I can animate 140 seconds in a day. But I have this sort of like formulaic way of animating the BFDI characters where I first do one pass through the entire audio where I just press numpad keys to signify what mouth the character should have every single frame. And then after I'm done with the entire audio segment, I go back to the beginning, do a second pass for the eyes, only looking at that, and then do a third pass for the body motions, and then a fourth pass for the background images. So I think when I do it that way, it's a little more efficient, but I ended up spending I started animating at like 4 p.m. and then I took some breaks here and there to eat or kind of just like goof off or be lazy. But then I just realized I'm gonna have to work through the night. So I think I finished the actual animating around 5 a.m. So that sounds bad, I know, I shouldn't stay up until 5 a.m. But I still feel kind of proud of myself that I can still animate 2.5 minutes of BFDI characters kind of doing traditional asset motions. I can do 2.5 minutes in a day. It sounds bad that I started at 4 p.m. and ended at 5 a.m. But if I had started at 10 a.m., then it would have ended at 11 p.m. and that sounds like a little more reasonable. But anyway, 5 a.m. I'm done with that. But then I also have to add in kind of things that happen in the background that you can't animate in Flash. Like you might have noticed the original BFDI YouTube video plays, and that's something I had to add in later, as well as when Match mentions that Bombi is a recommended character that Boy recommended. It shows BFDI episode 11. So those, a small handful of things had to be added afterward, and because of that, I didn't finish the tried and true final version of the intro that Match says until around 7 a.m. So the sun was already up, and I remember thinking to myself, I shouldn't do this to my body again. Well, not to my body, but it didn't feel good to be awake through the entire night. But when it was all said and done, I just felt at least I still got it in the sense that I haven't lost my ability to animate kind of somewhat quickly. Because I was thinking if I were to animate an entire 10-minute episode, it would just be the Match intro but times 4. So if you really, really wanted to push me to my limit, I could do it in 4 straight days, but I don't want to ever promise that because that would be 11 hours or 13 hours each day. Yeah, not good. But it's technically possible because I can do 2.5 minutes of content in a day. But it's also simpler content because it's a single character talking on the screen, and sure, she kind of grabs props every now and then. She grabbed the pencil puppet from the side, or she also shows the silhouette of Boy's avatar. Okay, Blue Jay. His name is Blue Jay now. Yeah, I gotta remember that. But regardless of all that, I still think that animating Match speaking a monologue is still significantly easier than even animating a dialogue between two characters, or especially a bunch of characters all doing some crazy action. If they're all doing acrobatics and they're spinning around, or they're all, I don't know, shooting lasers at each other in BFDI episode 20, that will be more intensive, and then I would not be able to do 2.5 minutes of content in a day. Yeah, it would be a lot less. I know that when I was making BFDI A, so this is the 2013 era, I would be happy, more than happy, if I spent all day and got 60 seconds done. Yeah. What else was I gonna say? I just think that I don't want to pull all-nighters like that. Well, I did sleep during the daytime afterward, but it's still just not a good feeling, and I don't want to disrupt my sleep schedule for videos. Yeah, I don't know what else I should mention. Oh yeah, so to Blue Jay, thank you for being the first voter, and I think it's just really cool to see that you're still making content on YouTube because, so much can happen in 10 years, people's interests change, and I think that, you know, making content can be tiring, so it's awesome to see that you're still at it. And I think that like having a fandom or like a community of people, because I know that like you're making Five Nights at Freddy's related stuff as well. That's really cool because I know there's like, you know, already a group of people who are interested in that type of content. So you've already got a community of people who will like every new upload that you create. I don't know what I'm saying at this point. This is, as you can tell, it's very unedited. Yeah. But I think this all kind of leads me to a question of okay, it sounded like I swore, but I was trying to say the word should. There's a lot of real life stories that I have in my head related to BFDI, you know, maybe certain hiccups that happened during BFDI episode 4. And, you know, when I watch every old episode of BFDI, I can remember a lot of the weird life circumstances that happened around the time that I created that animation or that episode. Like, I know that in the scene in BFDI episode 18 where they're in the TLC and it's like drowning at the bottom of the lake and the water's coming in and they're like, Mash is like, oh no, this is like the end, or whatever she says. I know that during that time, it was around the time I was graduating middle school, and I remember feeling pain in my stomach, and I thought the pain, it wasn't that bad pain, but it was like a stomach ache, and I thought it was because I was feeling stressed because BFDI 18 was so much longer than all the previous episodes, and I felt like we weren't going to finish it on time. But actually, my stomach was just hurting because I hadn't eaten lunch yet. Or I think. Yeah, I remember telling that to one of my friends after our history final, and she was like, maybe you should just eat. You shouldn't like feel stressed about it, because stress shouldn't cause stomach pain if you're healthy, I think. But if life stories like that, I wonder if I should turn that into a series somehow. If I do, I should definitely script it, but I think I would personally want to do it even if no one else wants to watch it, just because I think that it's like the footnotes to a book, and like the book content is the episode itself, but I want to talk about the footnotes, you know? Anyway, I think this video's gone on too long. 17 minutes is really bad, but yeah, this whole video is just kind of like a follow-up, my personal opinions about the Jack and Jellyfy video that was uploaded today. Also, yeah, I made Match's hair, or her bulb thing at the top, the phosphorus chlorate, whatever that chemical is, I made it green just because I thought it's like, we haven't seen Match in a while, and she's probably dyeing her hair different colors every now and then, but she just doesn't tell us because we don't have the camera on her all the time. And we need something fresh anyway. It's been years since we've seen her, so yeah. Okay, I'm gonna stop the video before it hits 18 minutes. Bye, thanks for watching, bye.